Welcome back to another minisode here on Talking Sports. I am your co-host Andrew Volkman, and this is my co-host.
Miles Shield, I'm virtual, but how you guys doing?
We're all doing good, Miles. Back doing another minisode. Also, before we get underway, happy Independence Day week. It's quickly approaching. It's crazy how fast summer is going by. Just like the past week was a whirlwind in the NBA. Got a lot of stuff to break down. Got a bunch of trades that happened. You had the NBA draft. The NBA offseason and free agency is getting underway. So a lot to talk about here that we have to fit in a pretty short amount of time. So we got to go ahead and get straight into it. Let's start by going in chronological order here, starting on last Monday, late at night. This was something that we talked about pretty much like a couple hours beforehand. We posted an unfiltered episode about this exact thing. Where might Giannis Antetokounmpo go? And at about 11 o'clock that night, I believe it was on Sunday or Monday night, I can't remember. Giannis Antetokounmpo was traded to the Miami Heat along with Bobby Portis in exchange for Tyler Hero, Jaime Jaquez Jr., Kalel Ware, Kasparis Yakachonis, Miami's number 13 overall pick in the 2026 NBA draft, and the 2031 and 2033 first round picks of Miami, a 2030 pick swap, and a second round pick for 2033 as well. So, an absolute blockbuster of a trade for either side. The Miami Heat get Giannis and Bobby Portis, and then the Bucks essentially got everything else that the Heat did not give up. So, a crazy trade. Miles, what was your reaction to this trade?
Um, it was like, yeah, I think there was not a ton of surprise. I think, to me, my opinion was we had to get Kasparis Yakachonis, and we got him. And that was the big moving the needle for me. And then not even like in the back of my head, I knew it, but like not realizing how young Tyler Hero is. Right? He's only 26. He had a similar career trajectory that Trae Young had, right? Blew up his first few years in the league so young, and then had some injuries and just not the same level of play. And to me, I think Milwaukee is in a good spot. Yes, we don't really have a face of our franchise right now, but to me, we don't really need it. We have a lot of young, scrappy guys. It reminds me a lot of the basketball version of the Milwaukee Brewers,
Oh yeah.
right? We have a lot of scrappy players. We don't have a star really. Well, we have the Miz, but for Milwaukee, we don't really have the star. I think it's a great move. I think you moved on. Milwaukee has made it clear they're turning the page because you move on from the two biggest fan favorites we've had in years in Bobby Portis and Giannis Antetokounmpo. Like those guys were loved here, and you move on from them. It's definitely interesting. Now for the Heat, on the Heat end of the deal, I think they went all in, which is scary for a Heat fan because you look at it, they have a ton of people in that front court. Like you have Bam, you're gonna have Wiggins, you're gonna have Bobby, you're gonna have Giannis. Who's gonna be the guard? I mean, yes, Giannis can take the ball out, and you have a lot of ball hog type players, but I just you need to find a guard. And I thought John Morant was gonna be the guy.
Uh huh.
I thought it was a no brainer. Which we'll talk about John Morant later on in the episode. Uh, but I think this is the right move for both teams.
Yeah, I agree. And I after the trade went through, I saw a lot of people, bashing the trade, saying that the Bucks didn't get, the best offer they possibly could have, which to an extent I'd agree because obviously the Bucks could have gotten this deal done A earlier this offseason, or B at the trade deadline, or C last year before the draft happened, and the Bucks could have had Cooper Flag, Colin Knippel, guys like that. So there is room to, bash John Horst for, not getting this deal done sooner and just dragging this process out. And one of the main things I saw, like the main criticism was, the Bucks could have had Jaylen Brown. He's a Finals MVP. He won a championship. He's one of the best players in the league. Here's my thing about this, and you might agree with me, and I think we might have talked about this, is that A, Jaylen Brown's personality is in the garbage right now. It's not very good. We don't want that headache in Milwaukee right now. That's not, what this culture for the Bucks has been built around the last couple of years. We've, had these agreeable players like Giannis. Like the most Giannis has complained is just in this past year, and his discourse that he caused wasn't even to the point of what Jalen Brown has caused by getting on those streams. So, and if we got Jalen Brown as well, we'd have probably just been in the same position that we were with Giannis, an expensive star with no room to build around him. So that's why I think getting this trade from the Heat is that we get more assets from the Heat instead of the Celtics, because it did sound like it was going to be a 1-for-1 trade with the Boston Celtics, and just in the time frame we had, it would have been nearly impossible to find a third team to include in this trade to send Jalen Brown elsewhere and for us to get more picks and assets. It just sounded very unlikely that that was going to happen. So if it was a 1-for-1 trade between the Heat or the Celtics, I think we got the better end of the deal because again, more quantity over quality. And I think, in my opinion, the quantity players that we got with Hero, Jaquez, Kalel Ware, and Kasparis Yakachonis, you know, I think that somewhat reaches the amount of level, the play level that Jalen Brown has. So I don't know if you agree with that or not.
I absolutely do. And I mean, look back, right? When Paul George was traded, SGA was in that. He was a young, talent guy and didn't have any proof that he could be good in this league. They put him as a starter in the Thunder, and he blew up. To me, we have so many more opportunities to have that SGA type player because there's so many young guys who we just are just question marks. Right now, we still have Kuzma, we still have Turner. Okay, that's interesting because to me, now your starting lineup will probably be Rollins and Hero at the guard positions. At your small forward, maybe I would put small forward, you go Kuzma. Power forward, you go Kalel Ware. Center, you go Miles Turner. And then coming off your benches, Jaquez, Yakachonis,
Osman Dang.
Ousmane Dang, like you have AJ Green, you have all these young guys who are gonna like we have so much more depth now. Like depth wise, we have the ability to move this rotation in and out. Like we are not built on around one person, which I think makes this team so exciting because we have so much more depth than we did last year. Like last year, we were working off of Cormac Ryan, who I'm high on, but we were bringing guys in, just Cam Thomas, just to like give us some depth. So I'm excited to see what the Bucks can do this year, and then bringing in Nate Ahmet and Braden Berries. I'm excited about them too because it's more depth on your bench. Like we have so much young talent right now. It's unbelievable how we just completely flipped the switch.
Absolutely, and this gives the Bucks more options at with future trades because you have the opportunity now to sell high on guys like Tyler Hero, Kyle Kuzma, and Miles Turner eventually. Maybe guys like Jaime Jaquez if the Bucks don't want to keep him, but he's still having a good season. You send him away. Maybe Osman Dang is another guy that we keep around on like a 1-year deal, and he's having a good season, but the Bucks don't want to build around him. Sell high on him too, like the Hornets did with LaMelo Ball and Miles Bridges, which we'll get to in just a second. But you also mentioned the NBA draft with the Bucks drafting Braden Burries out of Arizona and Nate Ahmet with the 13 overall pick. We'll take a look at the draft real quick because that was the next thing that happened in the whirlwind world of the NBA last week. To no one's surprise, AJ DeMonsta and Darren Peterson went 1 and 2. Cam Boozer went number 3 to the Grizzlies. Caleb Wilson went 4. Keaton Wagler went 5 to the Clippers. And then you had a couple other guards rounding out the top 10 with Michael Brown Jr. to the Nets out of Louisville. Darius Akoff Jr., Kingston Flemings to the Hawks via New Orleans. And then Morez Johnson Jr. went 9 to the Mavericks. That might have been the biggest surprise of the top 10. And then Braden Burries rounded out the top 10. So, Miles, what did you make of this first top 10 picks in the first round?
It was very predictable. No trades. Everyone kind of flew off. To me, I was looking at if the Bucks could make a trade because there was teams like the Clippers, like the Nets, who needed a center. So I was thinking, hey, if we throw Miles Turner and the few first-round picks that we got now, can we make a move to go up and get a guy like Darius Akoff Jr.? It didn't happen. We sat back. We made the predictable picks. I have no problem with the draft we had. I think we got guys with potential. So we don't have NBA ready guys like Yaxel Lendenborg, who went to the Warriors, which I love. I
Yeah.
love that pick. That's a team that is ready to win now with Curry and all them, and you bring in a guy who's NBA ready.
Hmm.
Like that's an amazing pick, but I think it was very predictable.
Yeah. You mentioned the like, Yaxel Lindenberg pick. I don't know if you've seen about like just all the stuff that he's been saying, like especially on draft night, like how he hated Curry growing up, as a Cavs fan, and like how much he didn't like the Warriors. So I found that kind of funny as a guy. Like again, you're fresh in the NBA, buddy. You might not want to go out bashing the best player of one of the best guards of all time and one of the better coaches in the era that we are currently playing in the NBA with Steve Kerr and the Warriors, one of the best franchises in the NBA. So found that kind of funny. But then Ede Mara went to the Oklahoma City Thunder. That was a pretty interesting pick for the Thunder. Gets them another center. Could be potential Chet Holmgren trade implications. That's definitely up for possible, you know, possibility up coming soon. One of my favorite picks was Jaden Quintance going to the Spurs at 20 from Kentucky. Very good defensive guard, very athletic guy. The Spurs got a steal here with Jaden Quintance. He fell fell due to medical concerns, but yeah, if he's healthy, he is going to be very very exciting to watch. Kareem Lopez went to the Pistons, Pistons at 21. He's going to be heading to Memphis. That pick was traded to Memphis, so the Grizzlies get a very good player in Kareem Lopez, who out of Mexico, very interesting player. Going to be interesting to see what he does. Lebarion Philon Jr. went to the 76ers at 22, another guard in the backcourt in the backcourt for the 76ers behind Tyrese Maxey and everyone else in that group. So that's very exciting. Cameron Carr going to the Lakers at 24. I loved watching him at Baylor this past year. Terrence Reed Jr. from UConn going to San Antonio at 26. That's another very interesting pick as well. So, yeah, very interesting first round as well. Nothing really too surprising, I would say, about round two. So, I don't think we need to spend too much time on the round two of the NBA draft. But Miles, you have anything else on round one of the NBA draft before we move on?
No, what's next?
Up next is the LaMelo Ball and Miles Bridges trades that, you know, happened very recently. They only happened a couple days ago. We had a little bit of a break after the draft, and then immediately got the LaMelo and Miles Bridges trade. So let's start off by talking about the LaMelo Ball trade because this one was interesting, and there's a lot to talk about here and a lot to dissect. So the Charlotte Hornets sent LaMelo Ball and Josh Green to the Minnesota Timberwolves for former Sixth Man of the Year Naz Reid, an unprotected 23-3 first round pick, and three first round pick swaps from in 2028, 2029, and 2030, and three future second round picks. So yeah, this was a really big trade that I would be lying if I said I didn't see coming, but with all the chatter about LaMelo getting traded earlier in the year, it's hard to say that this wasn't a out of the blue moment, out of the blue trade. So Miles, what's your take on this?
Yeah, it's interesting because I didn't see him going to the Timberwolves at all.
Mm-hmm.
I was really honed in on them going to get a guy like Jaylen Brown, and I know they were in talks to get Jaylen Brown. They just weren't going to give up as much as the Celtics wanted. This LaMelo Ball thing was something you had to do to keep Ant happy because Anthony Edwards was about near to request a trade. I'm telling you right now, there's no way he wouldn't. You don't have a team built. Now you bring in LaMelo Ball. My question is not questioning the talent of LaMelo Ball, because I do believe he's one of the most talented guards in the league. My question is, number one, can he stay healthy?
Mm-hmm.
Right? He's got a lot of ankle injuries. Can he stay healthy? Number two, what are you going to do? You have two all-star guards who love getting the ball, who are all about highlight plays. How is that going to work? How's the chemistry? You have two very big personalities in one locker room. What is that going to be like? I don't know. Because, it's either going to go really well or it's going to blow up. Because I can't even fathom what that locker room is going to be like when you got two guys who, albeit they're cocky, they're good, but they're cocky. They love having the ball in their hands. They love making plays. This is unpredictable. I don't think there's any way you could see. There's too many variables of what can happen with those two together.
Yeah, absolutely. And what the other trade, which I'll kind of package in here real quick, is the Miles Bridges trade to the Phoenix Suns. The Suns are getting Miles Bridges, a 2029 first round pick, and then a 2027 second round pick, while the Hornets get Grayson Allen, Royce O'Neal, and an unprotected 2033 first round pick, which was very surprising to get. So that was another big trade that happened a couple days ago as well. But yeah, in my opinion, this is my first reaction to these trades were, what the heck are the Hornets doing? They just made it to the play-in. They were on a run in the second half of the year. They were, one of the best second half teams in the league, and now suddenly they're trading away two of their best offensive scorers. So that's a very confusing move, but I think it's a similar thing to what we might see from the Bucks later on, which is sell high on a lot of your, good talent. If the Bucks are doing good, maybe at the trade deadline this year, I can see them easily trading away one or two or three of their starters right now to give the keys to Braden Burries or Nate Ament. Well, not Nate Ament. Nate Ament's more than 2 years away, I would say, from being a starter. But you get what I mean. So this was clearly that move. It seems very confusing that the Hornets would trade away two of their best players to in a window. You would think that they'd be looking to contend. They'd be looking to add and not sell high on some guys like LaMelo and Miles Bridges. So that was a bit of a surprising move for me. I don't know what you think about that.
Um, I was surprised on both ends. I'll say. Because for the Hornets, I agree with you. They just made the play-in. I mean, Con Knipple, Brandon Miller were looking like two young stars. Now, the LaMelo Ball trade, I probably would have made that trade.
Okay.
I think it was time to move on from him. I think the organization was kind of starting to go in a different direction.
Mm-hmm.
The Miles Bridges trade, now that I think about it, I probably would have made that trade too.
Hmm.
Because I don't think they fit the new Hornets. They were kind of in the sucky Hornets, the Hornets that were constantly bad. And so I think what the Hornets are trying to do, number one, free up cap space. So you can make moves if you need to make moves. Number two, I think the Hornets are just trying to move on from their past. I think they're trying to rebuild, and I think they believe they have the team. Those guys are more, I want ball players, which is fine. And for Phoenix, I think they overpaid.
Yeah.
I think they overpaid a little bit for Miles Bridges. But he had 17 points per game this season. Some injury problems, but the Suns had to make a move, right? They haven't been good in a while, and they haven't been a contending team in a while. They needed to keep Devin Booker happy. They bring him in. I think it's the right move. I think the Hornets have some picks. They have picks to bring in more young players or make trades for young players. I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, definitely. And also the Hornets added Hans Steinbach from Washington and Christian Anderson Jr. from Texas Tech. I mean, Christian Anderson is going to be looking at some pretty solid playing time this year now that LaMelo Ball is out of town. And the keys are really going to go to the franchise to Brandon Miller and Con Knipple, the two young stars that the Hornets have drafted and turned into stars in the NBA already, which is crazy to think about because both of them are.
And Kobe White, they just re-signed.
And Kobe White as well, Kobe White. So yeah, Christian Anderson's gonna be getting playing time, probably off the bench most likely. But yeah, that's a nice little team that the Hornets have got going on there. Very underrated now without LaMelo Ball. But yeah, it's gonna be very interesting to see what the Hornets can do this upcoming season. And then one last trade that we got to talk about here is the Ja Morant trade, because this one, again, like the LaMelo Ball trade, we knew it was gonna happen sooner or later. But this one was definitely a weirder trade, I would say. So here are the trade details. The Memphis Grizzlies traded Ja Morant to the Portland Trailblazers in exchange for Jeremy Grant and Chris Murray and $1 million in cash. Miles, what was your reaction to this?
Wow. My reaction was wow. And my reaction is, what is so bad about Ja Morant that's what he got traded for? Because you trade for a 32-year-old center who, yes, is putting up 18, but he's 32. And you just drafted Boozer. Like, you got Kareem Lopez. You have a young team. Why are you getting a 32-year-old center when you just traded a guy who was averaging 27 points per game just a few years ago? and he was on a career trajectory like Trey Young, like Tyler Hero, super good in the beginning of his career, so good as he was young, but now he's mid 20s and like he's just not performing the same way. And it's like for Portland, why do you need another guard? To me, John Morant does not fit in Portland, and the Memphis Grizzlies botched the trade.
Mm.
So, I mean, you had Dame Lillard coming off Achilles. You had Drew Holiday. Those are two very, very solid guards. Now you're putting John Morant, who's much more questionable. You had Scoot Henderson there already. Like, what does this mean for Scoot Henderson?
You have Shaden Sharp as well.
You have Shaden Sharp. Like, I just, of all the teams, I didn't see Portland making this move. And when you had teams like maybe the Hornets, like the Heat, who are looking for a point guard, and I don't think this is a good trade for either team.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely very confusing, but I mean you're probably looking at a starting lineup of Dame, John Morant at the 1 and 2, and then most likely, I'm thinking Shaden Sharp's going to be the three because I think he can play. I think he can play small forward. Denny Avdia, who had a great season last year, one of the most underrated seasons for a forward I think we've seen in a little while, probably at the 4, and then Donovan Clingan at the 5. So that's it's not a bad starting lineup for the Trailblazers. But again, you're kicking Drew Holiday out of the starting lineup, and Drew Holiday is very, very good. He's a very, very quality guard, and me and Miles, you know how much of a capable starter that Drew Holiday is. No way,
Absolutely.
not in a disrespectful way, but like he's one of the best quality guards you can get in the NBA with how good he is on defense and how of an underrated scorer he is. So I feel like that's a huge slap in the face to Drew Holiday because again he may be a little bit older, but he hasn't lost a beat. He hasn't lost a beat in my opinion. He's
Oh
still
my gosh, Andrew.
yeah.
Sorry to cut you off
What?
here, but as I'm looking at a poster in my room, I just realized Drew Holiday gets kicked off the starting lineup, right?
Yeah.
Who needs guards? The Heat. Who's worked with Bobby and Giannis? Drew Holiday.
Ooh.
Does Drew Holiday get traded to the Heat because they're desperate for a guard?
Yeah, that's an
Would
interesting
that
one.
not be one of the coolest things ever?
Yeah, reuniting the 2021 NBA Finals big three. Well, not the big three, but the NBA Finals crew of Holiday, Giannis, and Portis. Imagine that they bring Chris Middleton back in there too.
I mean, this is not as crazy as we think. Well, because we already saw the Heat aren't going to be bringing in any Antetokounmpo brothers, which is interesting.
Mm.
So, maybe keep Giannis happy and bring in Drew Holiday. And if I'm Drew, I would way rather play for Miami than Portland.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah. But anyways, back to the Ja trade. I don't think it's a good trade for either team.
I don't either. Like it's just such a confusing trade. Like the upside for the Grizzlies is that you're really handing the keys off now to a new era, to Kareem Lopez and Cam Boozer. Those are the guys that you're really giving the organization to, and this is, I mean, the good thing for the Grizzlies is that I think they are really choosing a direction now. They are choosing to rebuild because, yeah, you're trading away two of your franchise stars in Jaren Jackson Jr. and John Morant, and you're left with Cam Boozer and Kareem Lopez pretty much on the roster. That's the only two that are there. So I like it for the fact that the Grizzlies aren't, remaining in limbo like the Bucks have the last couple years, where you're kind of competitive, like you have the pieces to do it, but you just don't know if you actually can. It's so unpredictable. Now the Grizzlies are actually saying, yeah, we're going to just clean house and restart everything once again. And for the Trailblazers, this is a move that says, yeah, we're competing. We want to compete with this core that we have with Denny Avdia, Shaden Sharp, with Dame back in Portland. They want to compete because they made the play-in last year. They made the play-in. So this is I wouldn't say an all-in move by the Trailblazers because they still have wiggle room and they have assets to move around and flexibility to do that. But this is a definite win now and improve in the moment move by the Trailblazers. So this is very interesting. So
Andrew,
yeah,
I'm just looking at this. Staying on the Trailblazers here, can we talk about how the Trailblazers just gave 3 years, $44 million to Robert Williams III?
well, yeah. Wait, what did you say? 3 years, 44 million?
Yeah, extension through 28, 29, and he's 28 years old.
So that's roughly like 14 million, I think, like somewhere around there. I think that's 14 million, like roughly. So yeah, and yeah, that's weird. I don't know, because I feel like Robert Williams is like a certified good sixth man, maybe seventh guy off the bench, like as a backup center, maybe because it seems like he's lost that job to Donovan Clingan. So I don't know. That's weird. I don't know. That's definitely a weird one. It's not to say that Robert Williams is a bad player. He's not a bad player. He's not a very good starter, but he's a very solid NBA player as a center. I mean, he was a huge part of that Boston Celtics run to the finals a couple years ago. So, that's a weird one, I guess. It's yeah, back to back kind of confusing moves for the Trailblazers, but I don't know. I think they've just been so accustomed to confusing people, especially with the Chauncey Billups incident and Terry Rozier last year. So I think they're just fully embracing the fact that yeah, we're a weird team now, and we have nobody has any idea what we're doing anymore. So I don't know. I think that might just be the direction the Blazers might be choosing with we're weird. So be it. I don't know. But anyways, to wrap this episode up, we've heard a lot of rumblings and rumors about NBA players moving around, free agents, trades, you name it. We have LeBron rumors. We just heard some big stories about him today. We'll talk about that in a moment. Kawhi Leonard trades are being drawn up as we speak. Jalen Duren's talking with the Kings as a restricted free agent, which is crazy. And then of course Jalen Brown is still being shopped at the current moment. So let's talk about LeBron James because this is the most recent news. We saw, I think today, that Shams Charania reported that LeBron James has given the green light to the Lakers to say they can move on without him. LeBron will be playing next year, but it will be for a different team. What team could that be? We don't know, but there's a whole bunch of scenarios we can drop with the Heat, the Cavs, the Warriors. Warriors seem like they're heavily targeting LeBron James, which is crazy. Miles, what do you think of this?
Um, it's like finally. I don't think the Lakers should have even thought about bringing back LeBron, just due to the fact that Reeves and Doncic were the new face of the Lakers, not LeBron, and just spending money down the drain on an old guy just wasn't the right move for them when they need to go out and get a center like Walker Kessler.
Mm.
Now, for LeBron, this is great. People want him. We're looking at a redemption tour with the Cavs, where he started. We're looking at this comeback tour, the end of the era tour with the Cavs, which is obviously what tons of people would love. Now, for the Heat, they have a pretty darn good team built up, but that's a very cramped front court there with all the forwards and centers they have there. I just don't think that'd be the best spot for LeBron to go. Now, for the Warriors, that's intriguing because it'd be the biggest one and done team we've ever seen in the history of the league. It would be a bigger one and done team than the Brooklyn Nets were a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It would be so shocking because guess what? The Warriors are also looking for a trade to bring in Anthony Davis if LeBron would come in.
Mm-hmm.
So you're telling me their team's about to be Steph Curry, Draymond Green, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis? That's insane. That's insane. And I believe all four of those guys have played on the USA team. And it's like, I can't even fathom what that team would be because I think if it fails, GM's gone. I think the GM of the Warriors is gone if that move fails. But if it succeeds, they're winning a championship and all those guys are retiring.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the best move for LeBron James right now is to go to the Warriors because also if he goes to the Cavs have $4 million in cap space right now. So you get a $4 million contract.
Yeah.
That's $4 million where he could go to the Warriors and make much more than that. I don't know. I think it depends on what does he value at this point in his life.
Yeah, if LeBron was going to go either to the Heat or the Cavs, he'd have to take a massive pay cut. He would have to take like the veterans minimum, which is like $2 million, I think. He'd have to take like a mid-level exception, which is not as much money as he could be getting with the Warriors. So, yeah, lots of fun options for LeBron James and where he could land in free agency. So, no doubt about it, that will be huge publicity. That'll be huge news when he does finally decide where to go. It's going to be It's gonna be the decision all over again. When he went to the Heat a couple years, like what was that, like a decade ago now? Man, that's crazy. Uh, Next up, Kawhi Leonard. We've been hearing trade rumors about him. Several teams are linked to him: the Dallas Mavericks, the Toronto Raptors. That's insane to think about. Several other teams are also interested in Kawhi. Miles, where do you see the most likely landing spot Kawhi Leonard lands next year?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I was shocked to hear that the Clippers were even looking into this because I mean he carried them. That in all honesty, but I see the move. You have Benedict Mathurin now. You have who they draft Fleming.
Yep.
And
No,
I
not
just
Flemings. They had Keaton Wagler.
Wagner. Sorry, not Fleming. Keaton Wagner. I I think the right move is to move on from Kawhi. And if you can get a good overhaul for him, that'd be great. But I don't know where he would go. I really don't know what teams are going to be interested in him at this point in his career where he can't stay healthy. And this was the first year he was really able to stay healthy. So are the Celtics a sleeping team, right? We know the
Hmm.
Clippers want Jaylen Brown, but I don't think that's the best move. The Raptors would definitely be an exciting move to see him back there. But I just don't even know what the market is for him at this point.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting to see him go play with the Mavs because that would be him alongside Cooper Flag, help Cooper Flag develop a little bit more, help the Mavericks improve their team a little bit more because they do have some interesting pieces over there in Dallas. So it's gonna be interesting again, like you said, to see what the market is for Kawhi Leonard and what teams are gonna be interested in because I think a lot of teams are gonna be interested in him because he's a proven vet, he's a champion, and he knows how to play defense, and that's the big calling card that has been with Kawhi Leonard for his entire career. And in the NBA, good defensive players are hard to come by, and you can't name that many good players in the NBA that are defensive superstars like Kawhi or Drew Holiday for that matter. But Drew Holiday's not a superstar anyway. But regardless, next player we want to talk about, and that's been heavily talked about over the last couple of days, Jalen Duren, the center for the Detroit Pistons. The most recent thing we've heard about Jalen Duren is that he's talking to the Sacramento Kings about a sign and trade. What? Yeah, that's weird. So, Miles, what do you think about that? Jalen Duren going to the Pistons.
I know exactly what the sign and trade would be.
What would it be?
Zach Levine to the Pistons.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Yeah, yeah.
that's no question in my mind. It'd be either Levine or DeRozan. And to me, if I'm the Pistons, I want Zach Levine because we know they were shopping him. And now, I mean, he could play shooting guard. Put him there with Cade Cunningham. That would be insane. And now you don't really need him because you have Darius Akoff, and you bring in Jalen Duren. Now you have Duren and Akoff to build your team around. That's exciting. That's exciting. And then for the Pistons, that's a great win now move because yes, you have a huge hole at the center position, but that is fixable. And to me, you bring in Zach Levine. That's a huge piece, and we saw them work it right with what was it, the UNC Alliance they called it when they had like Malik Beasley, Tobias Harris, and Tim Hardaway Jr. Right?
Yeah.
Like we saw them able to work with the veterans well and win well. So I'm excited. If a sign and trade, I think Jalen Duren on the Kings, he would be able to be more of the face of the franchise. And Zach Levine on the Pistons, that's the missing piece that the Pistons have been looking for, right? We knew they wanted a hero. We knew they were kind of in talks for Brown, but that's not really realistic. Zach Levine is a huge realistic option for the Detroit Pistons.
Yeah, but I think actually, the sign trade with Zach Levine is interesting. I think that's definitely an option. I'm thinking it's more likely that Duren in a sign trade goes to Sacramento for Domantas Sabonis because the if this happens, the Pistons don't have a five in their lineup anymore because they got rid of Isaiah Stewart and now Jalen Duren's leaving. And I think it's pretty clear and obvious that the Pistons don't want to pay Jalen Duren $40 million, and I think it's clear that you know Jalen Duren doesn't care about where he is as long as he's making $40 million. That's all he cares about. So I think it's far more likely we see the Sacramento Kings trade Domantas Sabonis for Jalen Duren in that hypothetical move. But yeah, Zach LaVine is definitely
That is a good move.
because
I think I forgot about Sabonis there.
yeah, because the Pistons also drafted Egbuka or Corey out of Stanford, another guard, a little bit of a bigger guard, not a bigger guard, excuse me. He's a little bit of a smaller guard, a little bit smaller than Cade Cunningham, I think. So the Pistons have a guard, lined up for the future with Egbuka or Corey, and who at bare minimum this year is going to be a small role player on their team in some capacity, which is going to be very interesting to see what he'll be able to do. So I I think a Domantas Sabonis trade is far more likely than Jalen Duren. But yeah, when I heard Jalen Duren was going to talk about the Kings, yeah, we all know what he wants. He wants a payday, and he doesn't. Yeah, I think we're looking at a Brandon Ayuk situation with Jalen Duren right here. Gets the money, I don't care. I can play for whoever I want. I can do whatever I want after that. Anyways, the final guy we got to talk about, and it's probably going to be the least of the least conversation we're going to have, is Jaylen Brown, and he still hasn't been traded yet, and we're hearing every day now that Jaylen Brown is going to be traded. Where is he going to be traded? We don't know, but we know he's going to get traded. It seems like it's the Giannis saga over again. And you see why I don't want Jaylen Brown is because we're going to be entering in the same conversation with like we just had with Giannis, a star that doesn't want to be in his current situation and wants to go somewhere else. You see why I don't want Giannis, everybody, or excuse me, Jaylen Brown. This is the exact reason why. So yeah, what do you think, Miles?
Yeah, I think it's long, it's tiring, and it's not really our problem anymore. We kind of, as Bucks fans, can take a step back and just watch it all play out.
Yeah.
I have no predictions anymore because the NBA is so unpredictable, and I've accepted that at this point. But yeah, I think there's a very good chance that Jaylen Brown will be traded before the season starts, and I don't expect to see him in a Celtics jersey again.
Yeah, I think it's actually kind of. I think there's a equal possibility that Jaylen Brown doesn't get traded. No one wants him, and he just sticks around with the Celtics, and we have to suffer through that whole Jaylen Brown debacle that he doesn't want to be here for another season or at least another half a season. So I think that's a very realistic option moving forward because yeah, definitely just a weird situation going on over there with the Heat or excuse me the Celtics and Jaylen Brown, but. I think that's going to about do it because we are really rambling here with the mini-sode here. It's almost a little almost over 30 minutes at this point. So, Miles, before we head out here today, you have anything else to say?
Number one, I think we're going to see several more big trades before the season starts. Number two, I don't think the Bucks are going to be as bad as people are expecting them to be. And number three, tomorrow on this show, we will be having Hunter Wooler.
What?
Yes.
Oh, boy.
Very, very exciting. He's going to be back. He's super excited. We're getting ready for the show. And it's going to be around midday tomorrow, Wednesday. I don't know the date of what tomorrow will be. The first?
Yeah.
July 1st?
Yep.
July 1st to kick off the festivities of the 4th of July. We're going to be having Hunter Wooler, the Indianapolis Colts safety / linebacker, on our show. So please tune in. It's going to be really awesome.
Yeah, you don't want to miss when that comes out. So follow. Make sure you hit that follow button wherever you're listening so you don't miss the notification when the Hunter Wooler episode part 2 is released. I don't know if that's what we're going to call it, but yeah, it's just a funny idea that I had going on here. So thank you so much for listening. We'll see you very, very soon. Happy Independence Day, everyone. We'll see you very, very soon. I'm Andrew.
And I'm Miles.
And we'll see you soon, guys. Bye.